you very much. It's a very disturbing story. We appreciate you bringing us the very latest. Let's go from there now to some new actions from the Trump administration as the federal government shutdown inches closer to week 3. The White House now looking to freeze $11 billion worth of projects in Democrat-led cities and states. This as the Supreme Court is closing its doors to the public and 42 million people risk losing food assistance next month. The Senate will reconvene tomorrow and take yet another vote to reopen the government, but House Republicans will largely be absent after Speaker Mike Johnson canceled all sessions this week. We've got some new reactions from both sides of the aisle today. Here it is.
They want to reinstate free health care paid for by taxpayers to illegal aliens. That's $200 billion as part of it. They want to give money back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They want to take $500 million from rural hospitals, and they want to engage in all sorts of spending on foreign projects around the globe. That is actually on paper. That's their kind of proposal. We can't do that.
They care more about George Santos and freeing him than they do about providing health care to everyday Americans. That's the unfortunate reality that we confront. House Republicans are now heading into their 4th week of vacation. They continue to cancel votes.
And new numbers from this weekend's historic coast-to-coast No Kings protests. Organizers estimate nearly 7 million people turned out in large cities and small towns to register their disapproval of the Trump administration and what many see as Trump's turn toward authoritarianism. But the official reaction from the White House was, quote, who cares? Meanwhile, we did get some new reaction from President Trump to the backlash over indicting multiple of his political enemies, most recently, former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
You know, I'm allowed to be involved in this. I'm the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. You know that, right? A lot of people say, oh, he's the president. He should. No, I'm the chief law enforcement. I'm allowed to be involved in it, but I haven't chosen to. And again, I didn't know what was happening, but I see John Bolton just got indicted. That's a good thing. He's a bad guy. I don't know what he did, but he's a bad guy. Stupid kind of a guy, actually.
So we've got a number of reporters and analysts in place ready to go over all these new and developing storylines for us. We'll begin with MSNBC's Jake Traylor at the White House with some new reaction to the shutdown stalemate. So, Jake, we are certainly hearing from multiple lawmakers today. Do any of them sound hopeful that a deal can be made anytime this week?
Alex, I hate to say it, but not quite. There still seems to not be a lot of budging on both ends of the aisle here. You're continuing to have Democrats say they want to go to the table and talk about health care. Republicans are agreeing, saying they're open to talking about health care. Their biggest caveat being they won't do it until they go ahead and pass this CR that currently that Democrats are not open to passing at the moment. I want to focus in just for a moment on how Republicans, and particularly how Trump has been dealing with this shutdown. I was just talking to a White House official who essentially said the president is relishing in this moment. Of course, they said he wants the government open, but there are a lot of things and increased executive authority opportunities the president has in a moment like this, and he's really leaning into it. I mean, just look at what you talked about at the top of the show. So far, he has furloughed and fired what he says could be up to thousands and thousands of government employees, and he's being particularly specific about who those employees and what departments they come from. He's allowing military funding to go through, but halting it for certain Democrat jurisdictions. Now, publicly, we're continuing to see this stalemate. Privately, I am hearing from White House officials there is some ongoing, very early discussions that have been taking place over the past few days between Republicans on the Hill and White House officials, talking about how this ACA tax credit, which is kind of the hang-up for Republicans, how they can come to some type of compromise. But publicly, they're not saying that, and they're continuing to say until the government is back open, we're not even going to have the discussion. We've continued to hear from lawmakers today from both sides of the aisle, and again, it's Republicans saying until the government's back on, they're not even going to talk about health care. Take a listen to some very differing views on this.
I refuse to allow us to come back and engage in anything until the government's reopened when the Democrats do the right thing for the people. They're playing politics, and we have to use every ounce of leverage we have to make sure they do the right thing.
The Republican approach of, no, we're not going to negotiate, you have to accept what we say, is really unprecedented. We have never gone out of session in the House during shutdowns before. If they were simply willing to negotiate for our votes, instead of saying, no, you just have to give them to us. We don't have to give them to them.
Now, Alex, I want to quickly debunk this thing that I feel like we continue having to do, because Donald Trump earlier today on Fox News said that what Democrats want to do with passing the CR is give health care to millions of undocumented or illegal immigrants. That is a false claim that Trump made again earlier today. The Republicans have been making it over the past few weeks throughout the shutdown. Really quickly, there are 1.4 million Americans who are on this lawfully present status. There's a whole slew of individuals that kind of qualify for that. They are asylum seekers. They are DACA recipients. They are people on some type of protected temporary status. Those are the individuals that Democrats are talking about whenever they say that Democrats want to give health care to illegal immigrants. That is not a true claim. And so there continues to be this ongoing conversation, a lot of these talking points from Republicans about what Democrats are wanting to do. And it's important to get under the hood on some of this and clarify. Democrats don't want to do that. Democrats want to give some lawfully permanent residents health care as